Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says trans women are women. Honorable Men Discord. Let's talk about it. So here is a subject that I honestly feel most men and women will agree on, and that is trans women are not women. I believe there's a small percentage of people that would disagree with what I just said. And here's the thing. Yes, in the Western world, like I always talk about, we have freedoms to do things like change our sex, wear what we want, and just about do what we want, as long as it's within the law. Although you can change your sex, change your name, you could impose how people are to address you. Having the procedure done as a male to become a female, or not having the procedure done by wearing clothing that most women might wear, by putting makeup on your face, that doesn't make you a female. Now, by all means, if anyone disagrees with what I just said, please see me in the comments. But for those who agree, let me continue. So Alexandria Cortez, known as the AOC for short, she recently took the podium and had some choice words to say against a proposed bill to ban transgender women from competing in women's sports. Now, I'll be honest, as I was doing my research, I didn't know too much about this congresswoman. I know she's regarded as the youngest congresswoman presently in Congress. If not the youngest, she's one of the youngest congresswomen in Congress. But the little bit that I was able to find on her, it seems like she's very enthusiastic, animated, vibrant, and she likes to project her voice a lot. I don't know if this is a thing that she is using to garner attention to her name. But in any regard, she took the floor at a recent meeting with Congress, and she has some choice words to say. And if you don't know about it, take a look at this video.
I'm honored to yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from New York, Representative Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, Madam Ranking Member. Here we are today, Republicans who have voted consistently against the Violence Against Women Act, who have taken away the right of all women to choose and have control over their own body, who, as women are bleeding out in parking lots across the country, standing there, allowing us to die, now want to pretend today that they care about women. And why? To open up gender and, yes, genital examinations into little girls in this country in the so-called name of attacking trans girls. Not today. The majority right now says there's no place in this bill that says it opens up for genital examinations. Well, here's the thing. There's no enforcement mechanism in this bill. And when there is no enforcement mechanism, you open the door to every enforcement mechanism. Trans girls are girls. And for all the folks that are so concerned, thank you for your concern about women for the first time that I've seen. I don't know about y'all, I don't know who's been to gym class lately, but girls, even if you only believe in two genders, I've played co-ed sports all the time. But what this also opens the door for is for women to try to perform a very specific kind of femininity for the very kind of men who are drafting this bill, and to open up questioning of who is a woman because of how we look, how we present ourselves, and yes, what we choose to do with our body.
I'll be honest with you. After watching the video, I said to myself, maybe there's no other issues at the present time worth concentrating on other than a ban against transgenders in women's sports. But I guess not. I guess not. See, here's the thing. By all means, this is not a video to disrespect transgender men and women. But when we're talking about transgender women, the obvious is that they are stronger than natural women. All right? And why does that matter, you may ask? It matters a great deal. It matters if that transgender woman wants to go and compete in women's swimming. It's a known fact that male swimmers, if they were to compete against female swimmers, have an advantage. Now, this is not to say that at no point that it's impossible for a female to beat a male. I mean, there's going to be certain scenarios where, yes, a female may be able to beat a male, but in terms of volleyball, I believe, I know there was an incident involving volleyball where, and I believe it was college or high school volleyball.
And it's been a season filled with controversy for the San Jose State University women's volleyball program over a transgender teammate. The issue has garnered national attention.
Just last week, a class action lawsuit was filed against the university and the NCAA, calling for transgender women to be banned from college sports.
The team captain who joined the lawsuit and the only one to speak publicly about the issue, Brooke Slusser, agreed to sit down with KTVU's Bailey O'Carroll to discuss her position.
I feel like there's so many emotions that go into all of it, like anger, sadness, like regret, just like of all schools for me to end up at, why this one?
Brooke Slusser, a co-captain on the San Jose State women's volleyball team, is in her senior year, and she's getting more attention for what she's doing off the court than her performance on it, but she says she wouldn't change that. The Spartans' season has been overshadowed by controversy surrounding a transgender teammate who Slusser says she once lived with and called a friend.
I think all of me and my roommates were pretty good friends the whole time.
But Slusser says the two have never had a conversation about her teammate being transgender. Instead, she referred to it as the elephant in the room and says the university told her and other teammates not to bring it up.
I just don't think it's right in women's sports. It has nothing to do with the way someone wants to live their life day to day. That's not an issue. I think live the way you want to live. But just when it comes to the fairness and safety of women playing, there's a reason that there's two different divisions for men and women.
In a class action lawsuit filed last week, Slusser claims her rights and safety have been jeopardized by sharing a court with her transgender teammate. When asked about how and why she felt unsafe, Slusser said,
"The height that the person can jump is so much higher, and honestly higher for a man. It's insane. And then the strength behind the ball when they're swinging is also just so much more powerful."
But her transgender teammate's stats don't appear to give the Spartans a dramatic upper hand. The San Jose State women's volleyball team is ranked 119th nationally. But nonetheless, Slusser claims safety is one of her top concerns.
I don't know for certain, but I recall coming across a video in regard to volleyball where the team was completely opposed to having a transgender on their team. And again, I say, this is a subject that I honestly believe that most men and women agree on. In volleyball, if a transgender is playing volleyball on a female team, it's an advantage over the opposite team. Why? Because although that person is now identifying as a transgender, they have more strength than an average female. Just naturally. This is not something it's scientific. This is not something that's made up for the sake of trying to not extend the same liberties and freedoms to a transgender person. No, that's not what this is about. This is about just the science of it. You know, you're not going to put a transgender female in a boxing match against a natural-born female. It would be insane to do that. I don't understand why there's certain individuals, politicians in particular, that feel the need to take time out to rally opposition against something that's just common sense. This is really common sense, folks. If you don't believe this is common sense, I mean, what else are we willing to compromise as far as in the Western world, and just remix what naturally is? Okay, you put a female that's a transgender against a regular female, and it's going to be a disaster. In boxing, you do the same thing in wrestling, the same results. That transgender female is going to dominate most of the opponents that they encounter. And this is a fact. Once again, this is scientific. Furthermore, I guess it comes down to the question of what defines a female. It's almost like the video that I did yesterday, based on what Jason Whitlock had to say about Cam Newton in regard to Cam Newton having long hair and how much time it must take for Cam Newton to do his hair. And that was basically an episode on what determines what a man is, or masculinity. This is similar in the same regard, because this is asking the question, what is a female, right? And again, if you disagree with anything I'm saying, please join me in the comments. So this question I asked to the viewers: is a female based on the makeup that she uses? Is the female based on the length of her hair? Is the female based on the clothes that she wears? Is the female based on genitalia? Or is a female based on chromosomes? Is a female based on whether or not she was born with ovaries? All right. I don't know, folks. I don't know where the Western world is going, but it's insane. In my opinion, it's insane, and I stand on it. I believe it's insane, and I don't know how much discussion this requires. I don't know how much discussion this requires, because it's just a perfect example. I wonder if this Congresswoman, all right, Miss Cortez, I wonder if she'd feel the same way if she one day has a daughter, and let's just say her daughter becomes friend with a transgender female, and they have an argument for whatever reason, and the transgender female, well, the argument leads to a fight, and the transgender female beats her daughter to a pulp. Would she defend her daughter because she was beaten by a female, or will she now defend her daughter as the victim of an aggressive, naturally born male that is now transgender? You see, it's easy for politicians to play this game with individuals that want to change their sex. But then when it comes down to scenarios that are close to home, I wonder if they stand their ground on the politics that they project. That's what I want to know. I want to know if a lot of these politicians that are in favor of some of these things that I feel is bizarre, I wonder if they stand their ground when it hits home. You know, for political reasons, to get your name out there, to create a buzz for social media, I understand why some individuals choose to say things that I personally feel is outlandish. Maybe you all don't feel like it's outlandish. I think some of this stuff is outlandish. And I think people are saying certain things because they know it's clickbait and it's going to help further promote their names. And as I said, I wonder if these certain unique situations, if it hits home, if they would stand their ground. Now, if they stand their ground, I would say, okay, I could respect that. Again, if Miss Cortez in the future, I don't know if she has any children, I'm just speaking hypothetically, if she in the future has a daughter and her daughter, and maybe her daughter doesn't even have a friend that's a transgender. Maybe her daughter gets, she's out hanging out with friends and she gets into an argument with a transgender woman and the transgender woman knocks her out. Will she look at it? Will Miss Cortez look at it like, oh, my daughter got hit by another female? Or after discovering that that female's a transgender, would that change the way she addresses it? We oftentimes compromise how we actually feel inside about certain issues until it hits home. And so for those of you who are pro transgender and female sports, you have the right to feel that way. You're all adults, as I often mention. But the only question I ask those of you watching this is, if there's a scenario where a transgender person hurts someone you love, do you still stand by the fact that you claim they are women, they're one and the same? Because it doesn't negate the fact that they physically are stronger than a natural born female. Just something to think about. As always, I appreciate you for tuning in, Honorable Men Discord, and have a good night.